Welcome back to my podcast, Marketing Talks with Ivan. I'm your host, Ivan, and welcome back. Today, I have a very special guest of mine, Chad, a very, very good friend of mine. And today, he's here on this podcast with us. And today, we're going to be diving from a very different perspective. That's how to build an app. So, Chad, welcome to this podcast. And how are you feeling on this podcast today?
Ivan, I'm excited. Thanks for having me here. I think, I really think what you're doing is super cool. These podcasts, you're giving like a space for enthusiastic voices to come on and talk about what they're doing. I watched some of your previous episodes, and yeah, I just thought like I want to be on this podcast. I want to have this opportunity. So thank you. And yeah, you're a very good mate of mine, so I'm excited to be here and just chat with you.
Really appreciate the kind words, man. And it really means a lot. Like, I'm trying to create this platform for people exactly like you, like to share your voice, your experiences, and all of this. It really means a lot that this podcast is reaching out to many other people with the same kind of talent. So it really means a lot. Now, enough about me, man. Let's talk about you. How did it all start? Like, see, Chad, I know from our conversation, like you started
Mm,
studying your bachelor's in computer science, then you moved
mhm.
over to multimedia user experience and so on. And then we met at
Yes.
ESCP doing
What a
marketing,
beautiful
man.
day that was.
Yeah, man, what a beautiful day. I swear, man, like things just went along a different path, man. But
Uh-huh.
really, like how you started and where are you now? Like you have carved a perfect career in marketing, man. And I really kudos on that, man. Like
Yeah,
seriously.
thank you. Yeah, thanks, Ivan. So yeah, you're right. The journey has been interesting. It's chopped and changed in a few different areas. But like you mentioned, I started off in computer science, so I was able to get a pretty good background of the type of back end of technology products like the websites, apps, how computers worked, and it was it was really interesting stuff, but it was a bit too challenging, for me at that time. I think I was a bit too young to kind of process all that information. So I moved to a more front end design, which is what you mentioned, multimedia. It's about crafting experiences from those technology products like the front end, the experience, how the website flows rather than building the website, how you navigate the app rather than programming the app. So it helped me approach digital products with more thought and care and more questions, in my mind when building something. It's not just about, putting together a website, especially today where there's, apps and programs that can help you build websites, but it's about asking kind of the right questions. How is this user going to use the website? Are they going to be able to go back to the home page easily by clicking on the logo? Or, are they going to find the form at the bottom of the page? Asking those type of questions, that multimedia background helped me, figure that out.
Exactly. And the fact that even while in our initial conversations, you were inspired by one of the brand that was Red Bull, it was not just because of their products, it's what
Mm,
they actually offered, like the experience from
exactly.
it. And like based on that, he wanted to create something more meaningful.
Hmm.
That's how he
Hmm.
got the whole idea to create your very own app. And actually, to be honest, like with all the like all the people listening to this podcast, here's the plot twist for today. The whole app that Chad had actually built it is using AI, like from
That's true.
every.
Yeah.
And this is the whole idea why I had brought Chad on this podcast is to actually enlighten all of us, like how you can build something even with the help of AI, like an actual working app. So,
Yeah.
and regardless of this, like Chad is, he was very committed, whether it was his vision, whether it was his passion. He had commitment that he wanted to create this app in mind. He had a certain vision that he wanted to go ahead with, and he did it, and he made it happen. So, this whole podcast is to actually enlighten all the viewers out there. Is like how can different kinds of marketers or creators actually use AI to the fullest benefit?
Mhm.
So, Chad, are you excited? Let's go ahead for this, man. Let's go ahead. I'm really
Ivan,
excited.
never been more ready.
Yes. So, let's actually begin this podcast. So, Chad, I know your journey starts from the computer science background to
Hmm.
multimedia. How do you think that your experience with all of this has actually changed the way that you see? digital products?
Yeah, Ivan. So, as I mentioned before, digital products, and it also, circles back into that Red Bull company, that I like type of experience is I started to look at digital products as kind of like a people's product. So, Red Bull, for an example, they don't really sell, I mean, they sell Red Bull, right? But when you think about Red Bull, the first top of mind thing that comes to most people's minds is not just the can of drink. It's the experiences that they create. They create huge events. They create very unique experiences for people that share it on their own social medias. It's not just about advertising a drink. They don't actually, you know, I remember an advert once on, Red Bull gives you wings type of advert, but that for me was the last type of Red Bull advert I ever saw. I think the rest of their advertising is just user centric. Making the user's experience at these events really awesome so that they're inclined to share it on social media. And that just ties in with my approach to digital products is making something very user centric, very easy to use, very simple and beautiful that they're inclined to share it with their peers. Of course, I'm going to tell you that uh, my app, or I'm going to tell you as a company, let's say that my thing is the best product, but there's no better type of um, voice than your peer, your friend. If you, as my good friend, told me that SlideKeeper is a great app, I would probably believe you more than, of course, the company. So that's kind of how I, started to view digital products.
Understand? And I think Red Bull has played a very key role in all of this, whether it was you building the app and all. So, what about their approach? How were you inspired by them in terms of marketing? And how do you think that this has influenced you in such a way to create your own marketing strategy? Because I remember that even during our classes and all together, you were always behind the strategy part.
Yeah, so as I say, like I think Red Bull just giving me the idea of letting people market for them by providing them something cool, providing them something, you know, great, they feel inclined to share it, like I mentioned. And so I wanted to create something where people are inclined to share it because I'm helping solve a problem. And if I'm experiencing it and you experiencing it, and the use of the product is extremely good, I want to, share it with my peers. So that's what I was aiming to create, and that inspiration from Red Bull, like you mentioned.
And when did you actually decide that you want to build this app? So how was the thought process actually like? Like, how did you brainstorm? How did you draw it, or like?
Mm.
Just start from the very beginning of time, man.
Mhm.
Like, how did you actually thought about it?
Well, from the Big Bang, let's go back. So, from the beginning of time, let's go back. No, but really we do need to go back because from the time, I guess, you know, my parents brought home the very first iPad, I remember being so fascinated with those very simple apps and what you could do. Yeah, I don't know if we're going back to the Flappy Bird and the Jetpack Joyride days and
Angry Bird,
Angry
Angry
Bird
Bird.
days. Like I could be on that app for hours. And as I grew up, being so fascinated with what this screen can bring me, apps evolved, social media's developed, sharing platforms like Dropbox and all these applications that helped people do things in this growing technological era became fascinating. And I think we're really at this point where there's so much going on in our day-to-day lives in technology that there's potential to bring really cool unique products to the app stores. So that's kind of, if we're going really back to the start of time, that's where my kind of fascination with building apps was. But as I grew older, I realized, you know when you're young and you wanna be a pilot and you wanna be a this
Astronaut, man.
an astronaut, and you start when you grow up you start to realize that okay, there's much more than just becoming an astronaut. That type of reality set in when I was doing my computer science and realizing that programming is tough. And and so when this boom of AI, started and I started to see the potential of it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a crack at using these products to see if I can finally bring this dream of mine to light. So it was at that point, the new boom of AI coming up where you asked me what point did I decide to build this app? It was about then when I kind of resparked that interest.
Pretty interesting journey, man. Like how, see how the small things, like sometimes even we don't think about it, but even the small things like influence the way we think
Yeah.
eventually, right? So, Chad, now the main question, man. We've spoken about everything now. Let's get
Hmm.
back straight to the point, man. Like, what is this actual podcast about? Like, the viewers want to know what is the name of this app, and when you were building it, what was the whole problem that you wanted to solve in the very first place? So how did you get the idea? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, sure. So I'll tell you a bit about the app, and then I'll give you a scenario that, sparked the idea of the creation. So the app is called SlideKeeper on the iOS App Store, and it's designed. The initial intention was to design it for students and business professionals, for them to find an easy way to save and organize their important like slides or pictures that they take, but specifically whether they're in a classroom, like in a lecture, or at a conference or presentations or some meeting notes, like we use our camera for everything, snapping pictures of lecture slides when something important comes up, some statistics at a business conference comes up, and we want to just snap a picture. But then it falls into the thousands of images we have on our camera roll. And so, even when I was at university, when our lecturers were giving us a presentation and saying like this is important, like remember it, we would all pull up our phones and snap a picture, and then we would all go for a lovely meet up afterwards and then take 100 pictures, and the next day it's disappeared. So I just wanted a place where I could store those like type of miscellaneous images that I didn't want cluttering my normal photo album and other type of files. You can upload files and store pictures and easily retrieve them in those folders. So that is the app, and that's the idea of the app. And how it came about was actually at a real life conference. With my company, I went to a conference, and one of the stakeholders was trying to show a couple of us something interesting they saw on a keynote, right? They had taken a picture of some statistics on some figures, and they wanted to show us. But this guy just couldn't find this image. He was going through 100 things, looking. He was clicking 16 different apps, WhatsApp, whatever, and like he just couldn't find this image because he couldn't remember where it had gone. Like, did he send it to someone? Did he delete it by accident? And I just thought in that moment, like, people need, when they're going to these conferences, when they're going to a lecture, they just need a place to store those type of images that we snap to capture some information. Another example is I take 1,000 screenshots a day of random things, and I don't want them in my camera roll. But at some point in life, I've remembered that I've taken a screenshot of some recipe like 5 months later. And then how am I supposed to find that image 5 months going on in my camera roll? But with SlideKeeper, I know it's in my folder of recipes or something, and I just pop in and there's all my screenshots. So that's that's the idea of the app. That's what sparked the idea. We're not reinventing the wheel here, but I try to find something to make something more simple and seamless for people.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've tried out the app, man. It's like a seriously good app, and then it also like I never knew that I had such a problem. And it
Mm,
even, like, sometimes what happens is when you identify such problems and so on, sometimes you never even realize. Like for me as an
mhm,
ideal consumer, and I've tried the app, I never knew
mhm.
that I had such an issue.
Hmm.
Until I found, I was like, wow, this actually, I never thought about this.
Yeah, that's good. And I can see you using the app on the back end, so that's great. No, I'm kidding.
I hope you don't see the photos, man. Just kidding,
No,
man.
no,
No,
I'm
just
kidding.
kidding. Uh, so, so back to my next question would be: see, I know you studied UI UX and all of this.
Mm.
How do you think that influenced you while you were creating the app flow?
With my UX and UI design background, so um, I think whenever we're designing something or making something these days, whether it's a website or a YouTube channel, whatever it is, we're building it based on what our personal preference and personal taste is, like I've built a few websites before and I'm always thinking while I'm making this like, oh, this is so awesome. This is so clean. This is the best website. And most often than not, other people don't see it that way, or many people don't really like understand how to use it, how you understood how to use it, because of course you're the builder. So I think the background of UX and UI design allowed me to sort of
Put
fall in.
yourself in the consumer's shoes, the
Mm-hmm,
person who is
mm-hmm.
using it.
Yeah, and kind of fall in love with good design in the sense that now when I'm building something, I have a lot of knowledge, that's pushing away personal preference. I'm building something and I'm saying like, I really want to put this thing here, but I know that my dad is not going to find this menu on this app. I got to put it in a place that someone like my dad is going to be able to know that's where to find it. Of course, I know where to find it. I just click here through these folders and whatever. But the UX and UI design, like you said, it allows you to think in the mind of a different consumer, like of all ages. Is my grandmother, my father, or my friends are all going to be able to use this product in the same way? That's the type of thinking that UX and UI design helps you build on that type of foundation.
And to be honest, I'm very intrigued to find out what kind of tools and framework do you actually use while creating the app.
Yeah, so with tools, so it actually began with me using a just a notebook where I would draw just a wireframe, example of what I was looking to do. And I had seen something online where someone had uploaded a picture of their wireframe, very basically drawn out, to ChatGPT, and his prompt was something like, "Can you write me some code to bring this idea to life for an app?" So um, that's kind of where it started, and um, AI kind of helped me identify, what was possible, what wasn't possible, and I'm using AI as a broad term now because I want to get more in depth into which types of AI I used as well, because there wasn't just one. I think a lot of people when they hear AI, they think of ChatGPT alone, but we can talk more about that later. But yeah, so from pen and paper to AI, pretty much on both ends of this on the spectrum. Those were the two tools.
And see, I understand that from the very beginning when we started this conversation, see how AI has supported you to
Mm,
bring this app to life. I want to
mm-hmm,
know more about it. Like, how has it actually supported you?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
You had
sure.
an
So,
idea, you had a concept, and all of this.
you know, I'm not someone that shies away from the use of AI. AI is a tool that was built to help us do something. I know a lot of people, you know, might criticize me, for the use of AI to build something, but it's a tool that helped me bring, my dream to light. Um, and that was not achievable before the use of AI. So how it helped me, and as you said, like how it supported me. Um, Firstly, the basic fundamentals of it is that it wrote the code. It wrote the code for me. It helped write out the hundreds and I mean hundreds of lines of code for me. It gave me after that solutions to make things more user friendly. So it would take my design on how I said, I'd give it a big prompt and I'd say, this is exactly how I want it to work. So it would give me that, but then it would say like, look, these are solutions that we can maybe change to make it more user friendly. Or it would give me suggestions, on better or cooler features, or a feature that I told it that it says, that's a great idea, but how about we change it to be a bit like this? And I'm like, wow, okay, that's actually brilliant. I didn't even think of that. Um, it gave me, features based on the fact that I also didn't know any programming before. So it wasn't telling me you're going to build the next Facebook and here's the code. I explicitly explained I don't have any background knowledge of programming, not too much background. And it's been many years since I've done programming. So, like, can you keep these features more achievable rather than extreme? So it would give me achievable, features for the app, that if there were some problems, and there were many problems, there were many mistakes, it was something that we could figure out easily with someone with no programming knowledge. So, to the viewers that are listening, I know what the biggest preventer of you from building an app is, the fact that you know nothing about code. And believe me, I knew nothing about code. It's been more than 6 years since I coded anything. And it helped me go from literally just a piece of paper to a fully functioning app on the iOS App Store. So, if you're having that type of prevention, any of the listeners, don't let that be a preventer. AI helped me with everything. Um, and you can overcome it with AI. There's going to be problems as well, but it pretty much helped me with all my, solutions.
And I'm a bit curious now, man.
Tell me.
What were some of the creative ways that actually it helped you to even test the app?
Mm,
How did you
So
use those scenarios? Maybe
for
could you give a example as well?
yeah, for testing the app, you asked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I tested the app, so let me actually just go back here and say that there wasn't many much, like, you can't really like have it on thousands of devices to go and test while I was building this out. Um so AI kind of like, when you write the code, it gives you something, a response, and I put it into Swift UI, which is Apple's programming language, on their on my computer. Um, it would give me the output, but then I can play around on the computer and I can see that, something didn't really work out how I wanted it to work out. So I kind of just went back, and even though the app was functioning, it didn't work out exactly how I wanted it. So I would go back and I would tell it, it's working, but I want it to work a bit differently. And so it was more trial and error, more than testing. When we got to the point of actually having the app to some basic form of wireframe, or functioning product, we did I did do some testing where I would have some family members download the app, and what we did was kind of like a stress test on the app. I wanted to click every button and do the most strangest things, like I wanted everything about the app to work before having it look super beautiful. I wanted to make sure that you're not going to click, nothing's going to crash the app, or nothing's going to not work. Uploading strange files, uploading super large files, super small files, like, you know, I wanted to stress test all the possibilities, and that's kind of also another way that we tested it.
And how would you say how accurate it comes when it AI comes to writing code? Like, do you
That's a
have
good
to get
question.
how do you get involved when it comes to writing code? Because I know if there is an influence of yours as well, then you're both
Mm,
collaborating. But how
mhm.
accurate is it?
Yeah, Ivan, that's actually a really good question. I'm glad you asked that, because um the code, to be honest, the first time that you're gonna write a prompt about what you want, it's gonna give you something that you weren't expecting, guaranteed. But it's good foundation to work off of. And you can say like, okay, I can see that you've given me something, but this is wrong. This button needs to be a different color. This needs to be, moved from the left side to the right side. There's so much back and forth. Ivan, I was going through, wow, hundreds of prompts a day with ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and Google's AI. platform, three of them simultaneously. When I was getting, you ran out of prompts on ChatGPT, I was going to Google and I was going to DeepSeek. I was using three at the same time. I mean, I must have been farming so much energy in the world on AI trying to build this app. But the point I'm trying to make is that most of the time it would give you something, I would copy it and I would paste it, and there would be errors. Then it's about looking at those errors, and you can just tell the AI, this is the error. Then it would go back and say, ah, yes, I've seen, you're right, there is an error. It will fix the error. Back and forth so many times. It was a tedious process. It's not just about, and I want to stress that for the viewers, it's not just about telling it, can you write me from start to finish a mobile application. It took weeks. It took me, close to 2.5 months of pretty much every day. I would say 4 times a day, 5 times a day. Sorry, 5 times a week. Every day, just prompting and prompting and prompting. It is a lot of back and forth, and the code doesn't come out always 100%. But you know, with back and forth, you can fix it. So it's a good question. Thank you.
And to what extent also, like, I know I understand it makes mistakes and so on, but how
Mm,
clean is the code? Like, I know
mm,
during programming language, each one has their own way of writing code.
yeah.
But while you read through the code, whichever AI solution was
Mm.
giving you, how clean was it? Were you able to understand, okay, this is the issue or that one? Or did you need, or was it another whole process where you have to go and search where is the issues
Mm,
going
mm.
on?
Yeah, so, at first it was pretty much hieroglyphics to me, because I didn't know what I was looking at. But in all honesty, the mistakes that the Swift, UI on Apple's programming language, what it would tell me on the computer, this is the problem. Um, it was very easy to tell ChatGPT or DeepSeek that's the problem. It would very easily like see the problem exactly in the code that it put out, and it would explain the problem quite well to the point where, honestly, Ivan, towards the end, I would see a problem on the programming app, and I would be able to fix it myself without asking ChatGPT because I've already asked it 10, 20 times so repeatedly that, and it was explaining so many times what the problem was that now I was able to kind of fix it myself. So to some degree, while using AI, I learned a bit of programming knowledge and, so that was quite simple to overcome.
And I think what you wanted, you were able to get out of it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty close to it, you know.
I, and you've become a master prompter, I'm guessing, out of this whole 2.5 months.
Ivan, ChatGPT knows me by first name. Before I even log into the computer, he says, "How's it,
Hi.
Chad? How you doing today? How was your coffee this morning?"
Yeah, man. Like, because see, sometimes even while I'm prompting and all, see, I know there are different kinds of threads, as we say, right?
Mm,
It understands it over a period of time, but one messed up prompt
mm.
ruins the whole thread. So you have to start
Yeah.
all over again.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you have some of the same kind of experiences as well?
Yeah, totally. There was a few times where I had gone so deep into the rabbit hole of trying to fix a mistake that because I would copy and paste code that I would get so far down into the chat that I actually didn't know where the working code was. Like I was now stuck on my actual programming app with incorrect code, and I just didn't know where the correct code was because, I'm relying on AI, and I've now had it change this thing 100 times that I was many times close to throwing in a towel because I couldn't find the working code. Eventually, I would have to go back to kind of like 4 or 5 steps, after progressing 4 or 5 times, I would have to go back and redo those things. As I say, this is again just enhancing that back and forth process of of using AI.
And would you also say that it gives you recommendations as well while leave the coding now aside? Like, okay, once
Mm,
you finish the whole app and all, you want
mm,
recommendations on how you could improve the app. Did AI actually help you when it came to that point? Now you
Yeah,
completed the app.
yeah, 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 totally. Most of it was about copying and pasting at that point, like all of the code, which was a couple hundred lines of code. And it would scan through everything and say like, always start off very positively to say like, all looks good and whatever. But, and that but is pretty much like saying, it
Yeah,
all
you
looks
know it.
good, but actually it's pretty, no, but it would show many places of improvements. And then because I had copy and pasted the whole code, it would say like, I can just add these features in, these little UI or user experiences if you want. I can just pop them into the code. I'll give you the full code output and you can copy and paste and it should work fine. And, like 60-70% of the time, it would add a little new feature and I would copy and paste it back and it would work. So it was always giving new improvements. I mean, from where I had the app done and uploaded version 1 of the app, and I believe we're on version like 2.3, something about that. We went through many different changes. The app looked so different from version 1 to version 2.
And
Thank you.
I'm a bit intrigued to know also, like I know App Store and all of this are very selective when it comes to having the apps on their App Store for installing and all of
Hmm.
this. How was the process actually? I wanted to understand.
Yeah, so the process is quite lengthy. Again, AI took me through step by step on this. Apple's guidelines around privacy and data usage, as well as design consistency. They don't want you to upload random garbage. And there were so many permissions and guidelines that needed to be cleared, um, and check boxes to be ticked. And you know, ChatGPT helped me very simply go through each one of those processes to make sure that the process was so fluid. Um, and to be honest, just following ChatGPT's first output to me, like very simple step by step on how to do it, I managed to upload it without, many major problems. One or two little things that, oh, I forgot to do this, or I skipped a step on ChatGPT, but following the instructions very clearly, it helped make what would have been a very complicated process, something that, let's say 5 years ago, something that someone like me would have never have known, even if I'm using Google and looking through 100 websites on different steps on how to upload an app to the App Store, ChatGPT, and other AI platforms just help me so easily, like so easily.
Okay, so Chad, apart from all of the approvals and stuff, what do you think without AI, how long the whole process would have taken you?
Yeah, Ivan, I would say about 32 years, 5 days, and 6 months.
Why so specific, man?
No, Ivan, can I be completely honest with you? I probably wouldn't have even started, Um, it's, the world of programming is so, it changes so often, and you really have to be up to date. You really got to know your stuff, and um, I don't even think I would have started. So, you know, the this AI boom has helped me, create something I've always wanted to create. It helped me start something I always wanted to start. So, who knows where it might lead me? Maybe, maybe some more apps, maybe some more people joining me alongside that people that actually know programming, and bigger things can start. And it was thanks to AI. So, you know there's your headline for the podcast. How AI helped me achieve my dream.
Man, that was smooth, man. And also for the viewers, man, they're keen to know actually if they ever decide to build their own app, what your
Mm.
advice would be. What are the three core fundamentals while you build an app? What's the best way?
Yeah, so I think, I would say you need, and I would categorize this as a c- core fundamental. I would say patience for sure. Like I was ready to throw in the towel 9 out of 10 times, but the next day I was just like, I've always wanted to do this. I just got to get this thing done. So 100% patience. As I said, you can't use the same AI model. And again, I stress that because ChatGPT, this is important to know, ChatGPT and DeepSeek and Google Gemini, but they gave me, on the same prompt, copy paste, they gave me three different outputs, three different design looks. So I like the design a lot from AIB, let's say DeepSeek. I liked ChatGPT's way to fix the problems. Let's say DeepSeek wasn't so good at fixing the problems. And there was instances where each one was good at their own thing. And so again, I needed to use three different AIs. So I would say that's a good fundamental. And yeah, you said three. Um, I would say probably, you need to have, you need to have a passion for it. You need to,
I would say you need to even know what is your actual idea, because sometimes we just
there we
get
go.
lost. Yeah, we just get lost in translation, man. We have so many things in place and we just forget what is the original
Exactly.
idea. So it's good
That's
to map
that's
out.
good. I'll write that down. You can ask me again. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So now we have
Uh,
three core fundamentals, man.
yeah, yeah. And you see, and you're getting it, from after speaking with me, that's the point, and that's how I know that our conversation today was successful, is that you could give me one of the core fundamentals because of how much you've learned today and what you've learned today and what you've heard.
And how do you think that AI is changing the way that both marketers and creators are approaching digital products?
Mm. Yeah, Ivan, another stellar question from your end. I think as I think as I've stressed, AI AI definitely helps speed up the creative process. I I gave you a bit of a joke, 32 years, that it would take me, but genuinely, it would take me years. And the reason I say that is because I would first need to learn coding. I would first need to learn a whole programming knowledge, maybe even go to university of 3 years to do another to restart computer science, degree. So let's say 3 years it would have taken me to be able to build this app, whereas it took me 2.5 months. So AI, how it's changing the way, creators and marketers, like you said, approach digital products is it's speeding things up, the creative process as well. And it's also helping explore your avenues of creative ideas. I have an idea, I gave it the idea, and it was giving me constructive feedback on how to better that idea, things I never even thought about or even thought were possible. So I'm like, that's brilliant. Um, so it helps you expand into different thought processes and ideas, and bring bigger and better things to light much quicker.
And what would you give an advice to all the viewers today, all the people out there?
I would say, don't run into just building something. Build something that's meaningful and build something that is going to help someone do something, even if it's 10 people. If there's 10 people that have a problem, there's most likely more people that have the same problem. So build something that helps someone.
That's actually very nicely said, man. That was the core thing of this podcast, and you really highlighted that in the best way
Well,
possible.
maybe we can put this bit in the front and they can.
So this comes to the end of our podcast, and I just wanted to share my light as well. Like, see, the reason why I started this podcast was very simple: is to give a platform for people to speak about their journeys. Like, for all the viewers out there, you have seen how Chad started with a computer science background and now he created his very own app. See, it takes a lot of passion, dedication, and all of this. That's the main thing of all of this. You need to believe in yourself, and AI now has helped actually making your ideas and even your dreams into reality. So you need to stop thinking like AI, and actually start using AI. Yeah, you need to understand how can I make the best use of AI, because if you don't use AI, you're going to be left behind. Come on, and then you're going to be
Mhm.
complaining, oh, I should have used AI. Come on, just get over it and start using it. Start making those dreams reality. Just stop sitting on them and saying, I have a plan, let's do this, let's make this work. And next thing, 6 months later, I still have the plan, by the way.
Mhm.
So
I have that drawing. from the coffee shop 6 months ago that I have in my
Yeah,
back pocket.
yeah, exactly. And see, that's the whole reason why, like, it's important to believe in your own ideas as well. Like, one important thing that Chad highlighted in the first part of this podcast is you need to identify what problem are you even going to solve. Problem identification is key. It's
Mhm.
not about how is the app and so on. You need to identify the problem. You can always come up with the app ideas and so on, but try to identify what you plan to solve. If you have a dream, make it work. AI is there for you. You got support. It's got your back,
Come
and
on. It's
and
got
that's it.
everything you want. It can help
It's
you
got
achieve your
every
dreams. If you want to
yeah.
fly, then I don't think I can help you do
Uh
that.
y-
But
yeah.
um, yeah, and also just to wrap up, Ivan, thanks for, the opportunity. However many viewers it reaches, at some point it's gonna grow, things are gonna grow, the podcast is gonna grow. Um, if you're out there, if you're anyone and you want a voice to share about something awesome you've done, reach out to Ivan. He's a good guy. Get on the podcast, make your voice heard. This is the place to be. So thank you, Ivan. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you. And for all the viewers, don't be shy. You can always reach out to me. And by the way, we are not AI.
We're not AI.
We are not AI. We are real
I have
people,
five
man.
fingers, you see. Oh, wait.
Yes, so, man, thank you so much again, Chad. It was really nice speaking with you. And
Yeah,
by the
thanks,
way, you
Ivan.
can check out the app, and I'm going to put the app. You can download the app. You can have a look at it, and Chad is always. You can always reach out to Chad, give your feedback on the app, and feel free to do so.
Yeah, and the app is
Yeah,
free as well, so no harm, no
exactly,
foul.
exactly, which is good.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, but
yeah.
anyways, thank you so much, and Chad, and we'll see you next time on the next podcast.